I have played Star Wars Squadrons for over 100 hours now, and whilst that might not be a lot for some, I do consider it above the average. I started playing the game on release and have been playing it almost every day since then, so I do believe I'm quite fortunate enough to see how far this game has gone and how far it could go in the future. But the more myself, Eckhartsladder, Corey Loses, Wasted Space, and more play the game, we've all come across a problem that is getting kind of worse as the game progresses in its lifespan. Now, this isn't on the game devs, they're doing a brilliant job so far and they're working really hard to get the game in a perfect working state for us. If anything, I think this lays more with the players, and that problem is people leaving games. Now, I've covered this quite a lot in the update patch and in what could come in version 2.0, all of which is coming next week, by the way. But I want to touch upon why people are leaving games, what makes it so easy for them to do so, what punishments are currently in place when you leave too many games, and what I hope future update patches will actually do to fix the issue. So, for my question of the day, I ask you guys, how many matches do you think on a percentage-wise leave your games? For me, whilst it's not much, I'd actually say it's around the 35% marker, but I am very fortunate to play a lot of 5-man squads, which means that you do get placed against other 5-man squads, and in general, less people leave when it's that format. More people are less enticed to leave when they're actually in a full group. But if they play on their own, it's a lot easier to just abandon the game. But let me know your answers, thoughts, and opinions in the comments down below. And before we jump into it, I know I mentioned this video before in a previous episode, but if you haven't already, I really recommend watching our Cyberpunk 2077 video after this one. A ton of research was put into that video and a lot of reading too. And I'm really happy with the outcome of that video, and I think you will too. But with all of that out of the way, let's get right into the video. So let's talk about the process of how someone leaves a game. It's most commonly seen of them not joining the pre-made lobby, or they join a lobby and then quit out of it, or even worse, we're in the middle of a game and then people leave by going to the options menu, main menu, and then abandoning the match on the main menu. So first up, I do believe a lot of these issues lies within situations where people queue up accidentally and forgot their friend, which makes it a lot easier for them to just abandon the game, come back, invite their friend and go into another game. I myself never really leave games, but this is one of the reasons why I do leave a game. So whilst I know it is bad, I'm leaving my teammates on a disadvantage, it doesn't really punish me that much for me being able to leave the game and just go and join my friend. Whilst I know it's annoying for all the other players, I actually do believe the fault should lie more on me. So in situations like these, I actually would suggest that if you leave a game, you cannot abandon it until the game is actually finished. I think an approach like this would really stop people from leaving games, even if they accidentally join up. But this rule can only really work if the connection to the servers are properly working. There has been games where we've all queued up as a 5-man and 2 people get kicked out and 3 people put into the game anyway, and the 2 people that were kicked out can't join the game anymore. So why should we play the full game if our friends can't rejoin? I mean, we're going to be on a 3v5 anyway, so what's the point in playing the game? So whilst I know it's a very minimal issue, it doesn't happen to us often when I say that, it does warrant enough that the reasoning of having to play the entire game and not being able to leave it isn't really justified. But once that bug is fixed, I definitely think people who join games should not be allowed to abandon them. And if they do leave the game, they have to wait until that game is finished. I think that one big solution or fix that the game developers could do would really dramatically reduce the amount of people that leave games. Next up is the rank 0 bug. Now I know this is something that I've already talked about or touched upon in previous videos, so I'll keep this one relatively short. But basically, because ranking system does not work in fleet battles, people feel less inclined to actually play out the full game when it doesn't go their way. They're not going to be earning or losing MMR points, so it really doesn't matter to them. I think when the rank 0 bug fix is pushed next week, I think this will dramatically change. People who are losing will probably want to put in all their effort to try and win. The only issue is that when you do play a 5v5 and you play it for a chunk of time and someone leaves, the match is still scored, which means even if you're on a disadvantage and you're trying your best and you lose, you will end up losing points. I know a lot of ranked games do this anyway, so it's not new here, but it is still the most frustrating thing in the world. And it also allows people to use it as a loophole. So you could have a 3-man team or a 4-man team, and one of those accounts are actually a burner account. So if when you enter into a game and you feel like you might not actually win that matchup, that burner account can leave and then no one on that team will lose any MMR for losing. The only person that would lose MMR is the burner account, and it doesn't really matter because it's a burner account. So I definitely think there should be an added rule where if there's a free pre-made man team and one of those people in that pre-made team decides to leave and not come back, he himself and the other 2 teammates should all receive a punishment. Kind of like you're responsible for your friends in a way. So I think that can be quite effective. I also do believe with this less added risk and the ability to just jump out of a game and then abandon it and start a new one whenever you like, I do believe it breeds this kind of mentality where if you don't get the faction you want, you can just simply leave and queue up again. But with that said, we should also look at the next reason, the actual punishments you do get if you do leave too many games. Now, I got this punishment once and it was right at the release of the game. There was tons of connection issues where our friends kept dropping and we had to constantly keep leaving games. And then thus, we got punished for it by being put in the lower priority queue. And it essentially means the servers wait for you last to be put into a game. So anybody with good standing that starts the queue time for themselves will likely scoot past you and get into a game before you, etc. And this means waiting times can go anywhere between 5 to 15 minutes. But for some people, they're already in good standing and they're already waiting 5 to 10 minutes to get into a game anyway. People in Australia really suffer it the most. And it does seem that when I queue in the UK, it's a lot longer than when, say, Eckhartsladder queues when he's in Canada or any other US players. And it just seems that Australia is just having a really hard time with its player base right now. Personally, I do believe these lower priority queues are maybe not enough. But with that being said, I do think they should start with a lot more warnings when you abandon a game. It can be very easy to just quickly hit the button to try and rejoin match and then abandon it instead. And you don't really get that many warning signs of you actually leaving a game. So I definitely think there should be something like a timer before you can actually leave saying, are you sure you want to do this? Because it will negatively impact your profile, etc, etc. Let me know your thoughts on that one. I don't really have many opinions on it, but it'll be interesting to hear yours. The only reason I'm hesitant on that is because I know a lot of people are suffering from crashes and they try to get back into the game and there's no option to rejoin it. I have been kicked from the game a fair few times and I've tried to constantly rejoin and eventually I get back in. So I don't really want to be punished when I'm actually a good standing player and I'm getting punished for something on the server side. I mean, how many of you had a round where you crashed unexpectedly back into the main menu in a mid-fleet battle, only then not to get the prompt to rejoin the game, and then it count as a loss to your win ratio? And finally, probably the most annoying thing out of all of this that I still get quite frequently today is when you get into a pre-match lobby where all of your teammates are around the table and there isn't 10 players and the timer isn't ticking down. This happened like twice in my last playthrough and I only played like 7 matches. Got into a game where it was literally a 2v5 and we tried our best, but it just didn't work. But the only reason we were able to get into that game is because there was no timer ticking down and thankfully everyone readied up. But that is a very uncommon situation. Most of the time you have like 9 players ready to go. There's one missing that isn't joining and the timer isn't ticking down. And there is 2 people who will not ready up. Like, I will literally play this 4v5, but I can't. Most infuriating thing ever. So yes, when that happens, I just straight up leave because I could be waiting there for ages and it's terrible for when you're streaming. And I'm pretty sure that counts towards my leaver penalty, but I digress on that point. Overall, my verdict is there are a lot of server issues that Star Wars Squadrons needs to fix. I totally get it's not their top priority right now because the 0 rank bug and the 60 FPS lock on VR were their biggest things to fix. Now there's solutions for both of these. It'll be really interesting on how they're going to be tackling the servers. Because once they're able to properly fix everything about getting all your teammates into a game and actually making sure there's 10 players into a game, and if you accidentally get kicked for whatever reason or you blue screen, you're able to log back in and rejoin. Once they fix all of that, I think a lot more people will be staying in their games and actually enjoying more 10 people games. So that when somebody does decide to leave in that more perfect scenario, it's more justifiable to lay down the law with harder punishments. But right now, the service isn't 100%, so increasing the penalties for leaving is going to leave a really nasty sour taste in the mouths of people who just got kicked out of the game against their will. And even worse, might entice them to not even come back to the game. So I do believe a solution will come eventually for this. Once the 0 rank bug gets fixed, I think a lot of the server issues will solve themselves when it comes to people leaving games, etc. But I do believe that won't be enough. I do believe there might be a little bit more push to server stability. And then after that, you'll probably be golden. And honestly, once that rank 0 bug comes in, the balance changes hit, and those server stabilities come through, there's not really many big things I could talk about that Star Wars Squadrons need to fix. Most of them are done. Apart from that sound bug every now and then when you join a game and you can hardly hear the sound effect. The most annoying thing in the world, but that's a more minor one. But that is where I will conclude my video for today. This is the one big thing that I think Star Wars Squadrons needs to focus on next after the rank 0 bug has been fixed, because we've been focusing on that and the VR bug for so long now on this game. But other than that, guys, don't forget our question of the day, which is, how many people on a percentage scale leave your games in Star Wars Squadrons? Let me know all of that in the comments down below. And just in case you've forgotten, our Cyberpunk 2077 video will be in the top right corner in the info card or in the pinned comment down below. A very detailed video with a lot of time put into the research on that one from me, and I think you will really, really like it. But other than that, I have been Charlie, you've been watching EcksToo, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.